Welcome to the Miracle Network Wednesday meditation. I'm so glad you're here to have joined us and be together. Don't forget to click the subscribe button below to receive updates and notifications. Today we're joined by Douglas Crawford, who will lead us in meditation. Then we have 20 minutes of silence. And after that, we're going to open it up for sharing. We end at 10:45. Over to you, Douglas.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I've put together some quotes and some insights about, is punishment ever the answer? And I've included Nelson Mandela, my father, who was a defense advocate, and of course, the Course in Miracles. So let us explore these questions. What is punishment for? Do we punish to teach someone a lesson? Does anyone ever learn that lesson? Is there, in fact, a hidden purpose for punishment that we are not aware of? Is punishment a form of justice? And what does A Course in Miracles say about true justice? So here goes. A common belief in the world is that if someone is punished for a so-called crime, then it will not happen again. The reason this usually does not work is that punishment is addressing the behavior, the form, and not the mind, the content. We are always confusing form with content. Akim never asks us to change our behavior, only our mind. What we do comes from what we think. The paradox, and I think the key point that we must all look at, is that if we punish someone, it is, in essence, actually happening again. We are simply making the same error and, in a way, doing exactly what they are doing. Punishment simply perpetuates the problem. The response, I believe, that is really needed, however, is healing and mind training, not punishment. We must remember that all people involved in our lives, the good and the bad, the abuser and the abused, are part of the same sonship to which we belong. The strong temptation to exclude our abusers is the perfect opportunity to learn we but exclude ourselves. If only the victims deserve our sympathy, then we maintain the reality of the fragmented sonship to the delight of everyone's ego. The abuser and victimizer are as much in need of our sympathy, for who but the uncertain, lonely, and fearful would ever seek to harm another? As Mandela said in his autobiography, it was during those long and lonely years in prison that my hunger for freedom of my own people became a hunger for the freedom of all people, both black and white. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. So he had a change of mind. We are all the same. Who amongst us can honestly say we've never been dishonest, had murderous thoughts, stolen something, gotten really angry, cheated maybe, teased even, betrayed or hit someone, or killed a small animal? My father, who was a defense lawyer who defended actually several murderers, came to the conclusion that a criminal is a brother who has been found out, or in whom the conditions of life operated more harshly than with the normal. This clearly isn't the whole story, but at least he was seeing that we are all the same. Yes, the so-called bad guys in the world need to be stopped from what they're doing and may be restrained in some way. It may even be necessary to stop a criminal, defend ourselves, and sometimes even to the point of killing another, but we must always be aware of form and content. The form may look like defense or killing, but the content is sameness, compassion, and empathy for the victimizers. Now, the hidden purpose for punishment. Every situation is a co-created situation. Secretly, we want to be the innocent victim and then turn the tables and become the victimizers, punish them, and then they become the innocent victims. They cannot do this without us, and vice versa. Just remember the ego script of sin, guilt, and fear, and our attempt to find the bad guys and project the blame onto them in order to get rid of our guilt. And now, finally, a couple of quotes from A Course in Miracles about true justice. In the Course, it only uses the word justice for the worldly justice and true justice. So I'll put in the word true just so that you're quite clear which I'm referring to. Here's the quote. There is a kind of justice or true justice in salvation of which the world knows nothing. To the world, justice and vengeance are the same. For sinners see justice only as their punishment, perhaps sustained by someone else, but not escaped because of their own guilt, of course. The laws of sin demand a victim. Who it may be makes little difference, but death must be the cost and must be paid. This is not true justice, but insanity. Yet how could justice be defined without insanity, where love means hate, and death is seen as victory and triumph over eternity and timelessness and life? And then the second quote from McKim. You who know not of true justice still can ask and learn the answer. True justice looks on all in the same way. True justice demands no sacrifice. For any sacrifice is made that sin may be preserved and kept. It is a payment offered for the cost of sin. And justice, being blind, is satisfied by being paid. It matters not by whom. So there is no real awakening or peace in any form of worldly justice and punishment. What we must do is rise above the battlefield, forgive, and see that we are all the same, playing out the ego dream together.
open your eyes and come back into the room. We have 17 minutes left for sharing your reflections and your questions. If you'd like to speak, raise your hand and I'll ask you to take yourself off mute. Who would like to share? Lottie, take yourself off mute.
On Sunday afternoon, my lodger and I watched a film. He'd been wanting to watch it for a long time, and we'd set it all up ready for a wet Sunday afternoon, so it worked this last weekend. And I didn't really want to watch it. It was called The Green Mile. Some of you may know about it. It's a long film, but it shows how loving people can be on death row. And it was repeated several times throughout the film that we're here to make this easier for these fellows who are waiting to die. And it was beautiful. And it is worth watching, but it's 3 hours long. So allow the time. It's about everything is either love or a call for love, really. And that has been my mantra for now some time. There is no need for punishment, only love. Thank you.
Thank you, Lottie. Yes, it is a film worth seeing, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Who'd like to share? Sandy, take yourself off mute.
Thank you, Douglas, for that. Yeah, I was asking to be shown what I need to know with regards to punishment and how the Course sees it. And it was quite interesting how it revealed to me how when we withhold love in that way, which is what we're doing, how we're often doing it for just reasons. We think we're right, we think the other person is wrong. And on the surface, in human terms, that looks very justified, but it obviously in Course in Miracles terms, it's not. And even when you are doing it in human terms, you can still feel quite awful. So you'll think you're right, you're doing whatever it is to make it the balance right in your terms, but you can feel, even if you feel right, there's a smugness about it. There's a I'm better than them sort of thing, which isn't a nice feeling. But when you work with the Course and you do things from love, there's a peace with it. There's a gentleness with it. There's a freeing, your whole body feels light and free because you're not condemning somebody. You're coming at it with love, even if there is some action that needs to occur or not. But when you come at it with the mind, with love, it's always a very freeing, liberating feeling. So yes, the Course is so right. When we actually condemn somebody, whether that's just in our minds or whether we do some action, we're punishing ourselves. And there's only one of us anyway, isn't there? So yeah, it's great. Thank you.
Great insight. Thank you, Sandy.
Who'd like to share? Jim, take yourself off mute.
Yes, thank you, Douglas. And following on from what Sandy said, the punishment it speaks of seems to be our attempt to exclude someone else from the kingdom of heaven. And it was very clear as you were speaking that every time I seek to exclude another from the kingdom, I'm excluding myself. The two have to go together. This is either a dream or it isn't. And it does, and you've also made this distinction between the spirit level and the form level. It doesn't, of course, mean that we don't take necessary action,
Right.
but we can do it with love. We can do it knowing that the other person is innocent, but playing the part of someone who is perhaps, I don't know, abusing their position, whatever it might be, from our point of view. And also to look at ourselves, what is this reflecting in me? In what ways do I abuse my position? If I, just to use it as a mirror, and always recognizing at the same time, in using this mirror, that both parties are innocent as much as we can. And when anger comes up, as it does in these situations, to remember, if anger is just a sign, I'm believing in an illusion, and to use it for that purpose. Oh, this is useful. This anger is useful. It's showing me that I'm believing in the illusion. I'm forgetting the truth. And so I found that, what you read very helpful, Douglas. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, James.
Who'd like to share? Okay, Dennis and then Teresa.
Just there's a part in the Bible where a woman's been stoned, and Jesus said, "He who is without sin cast the first stone," and nobody threw any stones.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis.
Okay, Teresa.
Yeah, thank you, Douglas. Yeah, I went into it thinking, oh no, I wanted something peaceful and light and joyful to sink into the meditation. And oh, look what Douglas is doing. He's bringing up all this ego trauma stuff. And so I thought, oh well, never mind. And I settled down and I thought, well, just have a little think about any conflict, because that was it. I was thinking, oh, Douglas, why do you have to bring up conflict? And we're doing meditation, and I want something peaceful. And anyway, so I thought, okay, so what opportunity is there here? And I thought, okay, look at the conflict in your own mind. What is going on in your own mind? Use this time for what it's meant to be used for. So I thought of some recent conflict, and going on from what Sandy said, in the conflict, within the dream of Teresa, or the dream of looking at all of you here, and we're just a small amount, and there's billions of people, and then everybody's got their stories, and everybody's got their different conflicts. And then I thought, and then of course you've got all the years, all the back, and I thought, oh my goodness, so much. So that just keep it to me, and because that was far more manageable. But I realized that ego loves the stories. It just loves, it's like a playground. It wants to keep me here in the story. I can't get away from it. But as you said in your meditation, rise above it. When I'm able to rise above the conflict, even if it's a smaller conflict, I can see the wholeness, the oneness, the one mind of us all and everybody in the conflict. And then all of a sudden, as Sandy said, everything softens. Everything is not as serious, or even serious at all sometimes, as it would be, or as it is when I'm in it. So I got some peace. I got some and also from that position, if I can come from anything at a much better mindset if I'm peaceful, as opposed to in the problem. So it turned into a gift. Thank you very much.
Just another classroom, right? Yeah. So glad to be of service, Teresa.
Who'd like to share? Yeah, I'll jump in here. I used to be addicted to reading newspapers and watching news on TV, um, and they're all filled with fear stories, and um, you know, all this what's wrong in the world and what people are doing, and the hate and the anger and the stress, and it used to wind me up, and I realized I was losing my peace. It was just my mind was filled with all these ego stories. So eventually, I stopped reading newspapers, and I would just look at the headlines, and that was dragging me back into stories as well. So I thought, okay, I got to give that up as well. So I don't have anything to do with the worldly stories anymore, and I feel so much more peaceful. It's really helped me. I'm done.
Great. Thank you, Dan. Yeah, switch off the TV, huh?
Yeah. Who'd like to share? I was thinking about people in prison, and I think, as Lottie was saying, it's a call for love. They're you know they need love, and they're probably in there because from things going all the way back to their childhood where they didn't get love, I imagine, and maybe they didn't get a good start in life, so they had to turn to crime of one sort or another to survive in this world, and I just thought maybe it might be an idea if instead of just sticking them in prison and to give them an opportunity while they're there to learn a new skill, find out what their what their strengths are, and develop it and give them something where they could make a contribution to the world when they come out. It would be so much better than just leaving them there you know to age and to be stuck in their fear. I'm done.
Yeah, to develop their talents and their passions.
Mm.
My father, as I implied, he was a barrister in the Scottish law, in the Scottish bar, and he was working in Glasgow for most of his career. And he said, I mean, probably many of you know that there were a lot of slums in Glasgow and lots of poverty and struggle. And most of the people that came through him were people with very little money, dirty conditions, no sanitation, and so on. And they got so poor that they had to steal, quite literally, to survive. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they get punished for it.
Crazy world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who'd like to share? Dennis.
There's a part in the film Patton, and he's gone back to where a big battle was fought. I think it was Carthage, and he turned around and said, "I fought many, many battles and killed many, many men, and each time it was me."
Oh,
Yeah, another film to watch.
who'd like to share? Okay, we've come to the end of our time together. Thank you, Douglas, for leading us into meditation. And thank you all for being here. And take yourself off mute and show your appreciation to Douglas.
Thank you, Douglas.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to be with you
Thank you.
again.
Well done.
Love you.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yes.